Hey guys, and welcome back to Best Practice TV. This is Ask Best Practice. We've got a secret session in store for you, so stay tuned to find out more about service. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. So we put it out to the universe, you guys out there watching and listening, that we would give you a video based on any questions or any comments you made on the Ask Best Practice segment. So we've had a question come in from Ralph. Thanks very much, Ralph, for commenting on the video. What we're going to do is going to map out the operational process flow for an area of his organization that takes customer equipment and customer property, does a service and a repair of that, and then puts it back out to the customer. So this particular business takes hydraulic pumps and does service and kit repairs on hydraulic pumps, but this sort of model I'm about to do could apply for mechanical workshops where you're servicing customers' cars, anything that you're taking from the customer and you're looking after it and giving it back. It could apply to hairdressing salons, so a client comes in, you look after them and you pamper them and you send them back. So Ralph, your business is pampering the customer's equipment, you're looking after those amazing assets and that amazing equipment that your customer is out there using on their job sites, on their industrial sites, in their plant and equipment. You're looking after it, you're pampering it, you're giving it a service, a freshen up, and then you're sending it back out. So as my little 6-year-old says, Daddy, the car's going into the doctor. So Ralph, your business is all about like a doctor's surgery. You want to do the diagnostic, sort out the kit build, work out what things need to be put back in or rebuilt into that process, and then go forward. So what we're going to do is quickly map out a little process flow of service provision in that instance, but importantly, this particular process model relates to you bringing customers' stuff, equipment, parts, all those sorts of things into your premises, taking care of it while you've got it, and then sending it back all fixed and operational back to your customer. So what we've got, we talked about it in the last video. A quick summary for you, and I'll bundle them together. We've got marketing, and I'm just going to overlap them. We've got sales, and we've got finance, and they're all other operational parts of the business that support what we're moving into in here, which is obviously the service part. So this is in-house servicing, and in this instance, it's equipment. So in this particular example, Ralph's asked for, it's all about servicing hydraulic pumps and equipment. So what we've got obviously over here is a couple of other processes that I imagine that you've got to get the equipment to you. Now, why is that important? Now, Ralph's business is made up of in-house and on-site. Now, in-house in this instance means that you can have much better equipment, much better controlled conditions, and you can look after more scientifically, if you like, or more accurately, the work that you're doing for the particular customer. So that's why the gear and the equipment is coming to you instead of you setting up an amazing truck and going out on site. Now, there would be some equipment that you just can't bring to your factory, freight it, turn it around, move it around on couriers and trucks and transport. So that's why we've got a factory. So this is happening in a factory. So there's a couple of processes that we need to obviously be thinking about. We need to think about transport. We need to think about check-in. And this is where the possession transfer is happening. So we've got transport. Is it the customer's responsibility for the transport or your responsibility for the transport? So you've got pickup, obviously, check-in. We've got the service aspect, which is here. So we're going to transport it, we're going to check it in, we're going to do the work. Now the work is a diagnostic. We're going to obviously source the parts, we're going to do the work, then we're going to do the test, and then we're going to check out, and we're going to potentially, in this instance, we're going to transport again. Now this process is exactly the same for having your car serviced. If you've got a motor vehicle and you drop it off at the mechanics, so you, the customer, transport the car to the mechanics, mechanic checks it in, talks to you about what needs to be done, does the diagnostic, sources the parts, does the work, tests it, and then he checks it out, and you pick your car up from the mechanic and take it home. But in this instance, I think what I understand, Ralph, from your business is that the transport's being arranged independently of the customer. It's coming in and checking in. Now, in the previous, and then obviously we go out to any other processes which might be storage. So if you look at the previous video on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, we talked about storage and dispatch and all those sorts of things. So if we're thinking about this process flow, what can happen to upset your customer, and we're talking about your quality system in this instance, what can happen to upset your customer at any of these stages? So if you guys can map further, now I'm just guessing, a lot of this is guessing, I'm guessing what your business does. Generically I've probably gotten pretty close to what it is. Have a think about what the stages are in your process Now, at each of these stages, the first question is, 1, what can you do to upset the customer, or what could go wrong? Now, there are 2 parts to that. One is obviously, yes, you can source the parts, you can do the work, test, and it's all sweet, and you can go on and do another 1,000 hours on that piece of equipment, or the equipment might actually be a write-off, and the customer might not want to hear that. And if I use Apple iPhones as an example, you get an Apple iPhone, you walk back into the Apple store, it's not working after 12 months. More often than not, Apple's got a policy that we don't want to upset the customer. They'll say, give me another $100 and I'll give you basically a brand new phone. And that's typically the sort of warranty exchange process. So it really does depend on whether you sold the product in the first place to the customer. But if you didn't, we're just talking about in-house service. Generically, when the process runs smoothly, the diagnostic happens, your technicians might say, well, there's only really like 20 things that can go wrong. So in most cases, like 90% of cases, it's one of these 20 things. We've got a kit for it. We know what we need to do. We know the testing, and then we can send it back on its merry way, working and operational for the customer. So what could happen in each of these processes to upset a customer, to cause damage to the customer's property? And is it important to protect the customer's property? And then to the third thing is there anything at each of these stages where we can't complete the service? We can't transport, we can't check in, we can't diagnose, we can't source parts, we can't do the work, we can't do the test, we can't do the checkout, we can't do the transport. So it's important to understand, is there the potential or any scenarios where those things can't happen? So what we're trying to do ultimately is prevent, this is about a preventative strategy, things going wrong as part of this process. Now, in the previous video, Ralph, you'll remember we talked about the 5 W's and an H. So there's one W up here, which is why, and then the rest is who, what, when, where, how. So all these questions I talked about in the previous video, a matrix, developing a matrix. Who, what, when, where, how. 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 So we can map out what our process is, who needs to do what, and that's the matrix, the responsibility matrix that we talked about. And you guys can start to figure out, talk to the guys that are responsible for each of these stages, or the person responsible for the whole process. They can start mapping out a plan, get it captured as version 1 if you like, call it version 1, get a bit of a draft, keep checking it, and then maybe after a period of time, as you start to improve your business, making your business more efficient by looking at this process and saying, hey, there's a couple of steps there we could improve. Your business is going to become more efficient. The more times you look at improving this, it's going to be more cost effective to run, more sustainable, more profitable, and ultimately easier for everybody in terms of them knowing what they need to do to run this process. Now that comes back to this question of why. This is our cause. This is our amazing cause, to have customers confident that they can rely on us to get their equipment back on deck and back operational as quickly as possible, so they can continue to run their businesses and do their cause, the thing that they're very passionate about. So it's a very supportive, it's a very amazing supportive process, because you're there like you're the surgeon that's keeping that amazing equipment that's mission critical to your customers operational in a timely manner. So Ralph, I hope that's helped. That's a little operational process flow. In terms of building out your quality management system, think about what things you might be able to measure at each of these stages that the people that do the task can control. So your person sourcing parts, what can they do? So what can they control? They can obviously control forecasting, they control stock levels, so those sorts of things, so that there's always parts available for the services so that you can meet that promise that you've made to your customers. There's a good example out on the internet about Southwest Airlines. You can look at the bonuses. There's a case study where the CEO talked about paying bonuses to all the staff when they had a month when every single aircraft for Southwest Airlines ran on time. A lot of great studies there. Simon Sinek's talked a little bit about it with Start With Why. Have a think about that. So what can the guy, what is the ultimate objective? Get the equipment operational back to the customer in a timely manner. So the guy sourcing parts, they've got the facilities, the resources, the forecasting, the tools, equipment to source parts. The people doing the diagnostic, that they've, it's the right engineers and technicians that have had the right training. The people doing the check-ins, that they're collecting the right amount of information. That the equipment is protected when it's being transported. It's tested, it's checked out, and obviously you want to also get some feedback from your customer on the service so the customer can make suggestions about what can be improved in the process. I'm sure your technicians are amazing and they can fix absolutely every single thing, but it might be that the time or the budget or the costings might be the issue that customers might have, might make them upset. So it's important to be asking that question up there. So Ralph, there's your little process diagram. I hope that helped you. If you've got a business out there and you want a real-time example of what your process flow might look like, and I can put some ideas out there for you so you can have a think about it, reach out to us here at Best Practice. Hit subscribe to the YouTube channel. You're going to see lots of great stuff. We're trying to make it real. We're really passionate about your business being efficient, effective, fun to run, and inspiring of customer confidence. So that's what we really want to see from your business. Customers are inspired, your business is more sustainable and a lot more fun to work at, and your job gets really, really easy. And we'll see you soon next time on Best Practice TV. Bye for now.